Ladies and gentlemen, it is the No Name Cinema Society. It's our Indie Spotlight, episode 37.2, and I am pleased to announce that we are on time. It was a little sketchy there after we just talked about Rogue One, but we are indeed on time for the evening, so that's kind of exciting. Our Indie Spotlights throughout 2016, we've been looking at indies from 2011, and basically the deal is I've been recommending indies to these guys to watch, and they watch them and let them know, let me know what they think about them. I got to introduce you before you pull that up, David J Money.
I feel like you do it the other way sometimes.
No, I know I'm crazy like that, but you just gotta trust me.
Yep.
Keeping on your toes. I'm talking to random strangers as far as the audience is concerned. Let me introduce my co-host. First, our very own Buddy Slade, ladies and gentlemen. Drunk Davey.
Yeah.
And our very own Matt Freehoff. J Money.
Well, I guess it only leaves one other person for you to be, JB.
Yeah, I'm Mavis, of course. Yeah. And you have to see young adult to understand these references. So now we can pull up the evening schedule. It looks a little bit like that. This is what we're doing for the evening. J Money will pull it up big screen for you momentarily. There it is. We just talked about Rogue One. We had a very hurried but fun discussion about it. And now we're doing young adult. And the spotlight coming up is our big discussion of the 75th anniversary of Citizen Kane, and our sound off at the end of the evening, 10 o'clock, 7 o'clock Central. I'm going to do a top 5 unlikable heroes, which is based on our discussion of young adult tonight, which, I don't know if I'm going to give anything away, but she's purposefully an unlikable hero. At least maybe I'm off in my perception there. So what's up next, guys? Oh, the trivia. Do you have the tidbit alert up, or have we lost that? Yeah, you do. All right, so here's the tidbit. It's on his screen, but I'm the one saying it, and that's my Twitter handle, y'all. There you go. So basically, it goes a little like this. So on the broadcast last time, I said there was an Oscar-winning actress in a 2011 indie that used to be a model. Of course, that's Charlize Theron, who won an Oscar in 2003 for Monster. And on the Facebook trivia question was that it was a reunion of an award-winning director-screenwriter tandem from 2007. And of course, that's director Jason Reitman, screenwriter Diablo, Cody, who actually won the Oscar for JUNO, the screenplay won. And that's the film, of course, is JUNO from 2007. You guys have seen JUNO?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have never seen JUNO. That's a guilty confession. But
and have you guys seen Young Adult before having to watch it for me tonight?
No.
Nope.
All right. So first time, very exciting. Let's summarize it with the bookstore photo. I'm going to actually read a summary, but all right. So Young Adult. This is Mavis. She is a ghostwriter of a popular YA novel series and she lives in Minneapolis. One fateful day, she receives a baby announcement from an old high school flame, which gets stuck in her craw. Knowing she is now successful and attractive, she decides it will be very easy for her to return to her hometown and woo her ex-boyfriend away from her wife and baby. His wife and baby, sorry. So summary, did you guys approve? Okay?
Yep. Nailed it.
Great. Well done.
Nailed it. I'm like batting 1,000 on these summaries, man.
We're going to tell you it's good just so you don't make us do them.
I mean, we're always checking our phones anyway while you do it, so,
All right, so I'm recommending this movie. It's whether you guys like it or not. Officially, and we'll talk about this later, it's the end of my 2011 recommendations. So out of all the 2011 recommendations, theoretically, this is the one I'm least enthusiastic about so far, or at least it started out that way when we started out this year. In rewatching it, I do think that it's the best work by Reitman, Cody, or Theron. With that said, it's a difficult to watch movie. It's a difficult to watch performance, but an immersive performance by Charlize Theron. If we can pull up the Attitude photo, that'd be great. Or is that already up?
No, hang on.
Okay,
actually, you didn't give me any cues for that one in your little notes.
Oh, it's not? Okay. So, it's sort of buried in there. I might have missed it. But ultimately, I think it's an effective exploration of the search for and meaning of happiness. I find it extremely compelling. J Money, you've got opening thoughts first. So you can bring the photo down.
Okay.
Money's opening thoughts.
I liked it. I thought it was funny, and it brought the feels.
Wait a minute, you do have feels?
Somewhere deep inside this robot chest.
I mean, like, maybe you buried it under the floorboards, like Telltale Heart.
You know what? Maybe I just really related to a character who's awful.
It's funny because I kind of did too. So we'll talk about that. That's like number one on my list of things to talk about. Davey Joe.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. It's definitely it reminded me of the other movie I compared to Borat, where geez, you just want to leave the room. You just can't. There are times.
Maybe scale up there, J Money, for this.
Ba-boom.
He says it's a good movie. That's it.
Really?
So there it is. Now you know where it lies on the Davy scale. I think it's funny because people and we can go to Small Town Bar coming up soon. People talk about Diablo, Cody, and her work in JUNO. To me, this was a far better screenplay, I think, and it really captured the feeling of visiting your hometown. I mean, there's a great detail, like all the chain restaurants and stuff like that. I thought all that stuff was great. But the other thing that I really identified with, and I struggle with this, is the feeling of superiority, I think, coming from an urban environment, or I should say a city environment. Maybe urban is the wrong word at this point. But
You struggle with that one, JB?
Small Town Bar, do you have a Small Town Bar photo?
You struggle with being superior? Is that what you were saying?
I struggle. I mean, like, I feel guilt. I think I feel, I go back to the hometown, and honestly, I felt it a lot when I went to Lewisburg to shoot that movie, and that, Davy Joe spent some time there. And you go to Trump country, and they're nice people in Trump country, and, like, they're good people, but you're just like, what are you thinking? Like, I don't understand. Like, I just feel so frustrated with them, and they feel like I want to say undereducated in terms of Trump voters, but that's, that's a whole other topic. But I mean, like, there is this. I feel superior. I feel like, I know more than they do, having lived my city life, and they bore me. Like, it sounds mean, but I mean, like, I get that feeling, and then I feel guilty about it, and I try to, like, like, they're really nice people, but
here's the thing. Let me just say this, and I think it'll make you feel better, because I grew up there, and I love them too. But they feel superior to you too, so don't feel too much guilt about it.
Yeah, but I think that's probably true. Like, they think I'm like left-wing heathen.
Yeah, right, exactly. So it's cool. I mean, it's just, you just respect the fact that you each think you're better.
Okay. Well, I mean, like, but as far as Mavis is concerned, Mavis takes that to an extreme. But I mean, like, that's one of the. I mean, like, that really struck me, and I thought that was something we don't see a lot of. The other thing in terms of the screenplay I want to talk about was the structure. I think it was in a very efficient setup. At the beginning, like, flies by. About shortly. And each scene pushes the next. I think it's a perfect 3-act structure without feeling the act breaks. Do you have the Hello Kitty photo somewhere? No? Oh, there it is. Boom. Love it. And it has a less than predictable conclusion. I don't want to say too much about it. I feel like it has some gray areas. I wish I had even some more gray areas if I had a little quibble. I think they're, like, sometimes they hit things on the head, a little too much. But I thought that, the devices work really well. Like, the YA book is how voiceover should be. That's a great use of voiceover, clever usage of voiceover. I think that Mavis's Babies Are Gross would be good right now. The photo, that's the title of the photo.
It's a great photo.
Baby, it's a great photo.
Great photo.
Mavis is extremely well drawn. The other characters, I would say, Matt, Beth, Buddy, all are kind of flat to me, but maybe that's the point. So I have some quibbles about the screenplay that I'll get to in a second. But with that said, I just did a sort of a laundry list of things that I liked about it. How do you guys respond?
Yeah. Well, you said a lot.
All right. I'll take one at a time. Let's talk about the structure. Efficient setup. Each scene pushes the next. A perfect 3-act structure without feeling the act breaks, and a less than predictable conclusion.
Yeah, but I also feel like the conceit of the movie kind of, well, I guess that was the trick that Diablo Cody did. I mean, I feel like you very clearly saw where it was going. And I'm not saying that's not a complaint. That's not a criticism. It's just that the very nature of what she was doing demands that kind of very strong, kind of consistent setup and delivery. I thought it was enjoyable because it almost counterbalanced the awkwardness, the cringiness of a lot of parts of this movie that you had to kind of sit through. I mean, you're watching a woman sort of unravel and self-destruct, and it's hard in a lot of ways to do that. So I relied on the structure to kind of help soothe that in some ways. I think it was kind of a nice way to count on comic relief. It was a nice way to sort of distract yourself from watching a train wreck of people, basically, unravel.
Yeah, with that said, though, there are things that did surprise me along the way. Because, I mean, like, I do think, you said is where it's going to go, but I mean, like, I think that a lot of movies would have ended differently.
I mean, to specific content, perhaps, but I don't think that it ended in any way that I thought it was not going to.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, because, a lot of movies have an arc, and this one, I mean, like, you think it might, but then, you know what I mean? I'm trying to, be careful.
I think it did have an arc, but I also feel like it's maybe not the kind of arc that you might expect.
Well, that's exactly my point.
Okay, but I also feel like it's not like what actually happened in terms of getting characters to certain places. That to me felt entirely expected and in some ways a little contrived. I mean, honestly, I wish some things that had happened in the storyline hadn't have happened because they felt too obvious, frankly.
Do you have any example? I mean,
well,
I do think
I don't want to get too much into the resolutions, but I mean, like, there's the way that her relationship with Patton Oswalt, Buddy, develops and eventually kind of resolves itself was something that I thought it felt too obvious to me. I wish they hadn't gone in that direction. I think that was.
I mean, one of my quibbles is I feel like it was disingenuous how oblivious Buddy is at times. I mean,
when do you think he was oblivious?
I mean, like she's pretty strong early on. Eyeing prey would be a good photo right about now. She comes on pretty strong like right away, and he keeps, leaving that door open. And I mean, you could argue potentially that he's playing dumb and really likes the attention, but I'm not. I mean, look at that look. You can argue that he's playing dumb, but I don't think he is. Like,
oh, I think he's totally playing dumb. I think he's trying to avoid having awkward conversations with her, and he's just sort of letting it fly and sort of. But I mean, like,
if that's the case, he should not keep leaving that door open. You know what I mean?
Well, but as they kind of talked about at the end of the movie, it wasn't entirely his idea to leave the door open, right?
I mean, like, not until the end, though. I mean, like, I think there's enough things that happen. There's the lunch, there's the, the band outing. Like, there's lots of things that happen, and like, I think realistically, she would have been like, assuming he wasn't interested, she would have been out a lot sooner. You know what I mean?
It kind of depends on how you look at it.
I feel like that was contrived, to keep the movie going.
I don't know. I think that if you're talking about people that are actually real and genuinely nice, and they recognize that somebody's in a pretty bad spot, they might be trying to do something about it in a nice way. Like, I guess I don't feel like there was, I think it was a nice way of moving the story along that you're not really sure exactly what's going to happen with those two. And then the end made sense from that point of view. It made sense that everybody was actually trying to pull for working with Mavis, trying to help her through something, as opposed to him just kind of like awkwardly, trying to get something going. I don't think that was I don't feel like that was just genuine. I don't feel like that was out of character for anything that was happening. And I got to back up. I got to say, what happened with her and Patton Oswalt was the thing that really I meant was the problem.
No, I agree with that as well. That was a little disingenuous. That was another thing that I also felt was a little disingenuous, and that's why it's not like as much as like there's a lot more quibbles with this movie than a lot of the other 2011 recommendations. I think because we're sort of at the end of the list here, but yeah. So I mean, I do want to, David. I mean, like, I got to move on. But do you have anything on anything we just said? Do you have any thoughts based on anything?
Well, yeah. No, I think that it's kind of ridiculous how Buddy's playing dumb, and I think that it almost. Are
you with me? You with me on this?
Yeah, and I think they kind of threw a line in at the end because I think they were feeling a little uneasy about it also.
I agree.
But I feel like these are both characters that are avoiding dealing with reality in a certain way. I mean, I guess I feel like that was very in line and in keeping with everybody else in this movie.
Yeah, but I don't know if he is so much. That she definitely is, but I don't know about him.
Yeah, I didn't feel that from him either. All right, believe it or not, we're running late again. We're not just having as good of a night. I want to talk about performances though, and I would love. Do you have prepping for battle somewhere in there? Because I'm sure I have to jump ahead. Is that what's up?
Yep.
No.
Hang on one sec.
Okay.
There you go.
There you go. So, guys, I think she's amazing in this movie. Like, I used the word immersive before. I think, deeply buried in this character's delusion. I think it's a more interesting and nuanced performance than Monster. Monster was a little showy, I think. Some of the, what's the word I'm looking for? Just not over the top per se, but it's one of those Oscar bait type performances that J Money likes to talk about. This one, not so much. And in that sense, I think it's a lot more of a challenge and a lot more successful for her. So any quick thoughts on Charlize Theron?
I think she's fantastic. I think she's fantastic in pretty much everything. I totally agree with what you're saying about Monster. Monster to me was way too easy. Mm-hmm. It's way too affected and blah, blah, blah. But in general, I've never seen her do bad in anything. So she really handled this.
I mean, a lot of it's about opportunity. Like, she didn't do bad in the Italian Job, but, who cares?
Right.
So, Davey, anything on Charlize real quick?
She was fantastic.
I don't want to spend too much time on Patton Oswalt, Elizabeth Reeser, and Patrick Wilson because I thought that all their characters were underwritten. Well,
I disagree with you about Oswald.
Okay.
Yeah.
I liked him. I just felt like his storyline took. This is my note I have, and you brought up. I felt his storyline took a disingenuous turn. I like him, his presence on screen. I just don't. I feel like his character is sort of flat. I think it's sort of a one-note character, but I like seeing him on screen, like he's a comfortable presence for me. But the disingenuous turn that the movie took, I struggle with, and that's why I blame it on the screenplay to some degree.
Yeah, but go ahead, David Joe.
I just the part when he's describing his disability and what he went through, I thought that he did that really, really well, and I believed it.
I just don't think he needed like additional. That part I wondered about screenplay wise if that was a little contrived to have him have additional handicaps, if you will.
But you don't feel like they're pretty much the same character, just on the opposite ends of the spectrum on this stuff?
Oh, absolutely. I have down here is like everyone is handicapped in some way, shape, or form. You know what I mean? Like I absolutely think that. I think she is more deeply drawn. From a writing point of view.
Well, I think that because the camera was on her, 90% of the time, she ends up showing that more.
I'm not saying it. Every script needs flat characters and round characters. So Ian Forster used to say that.
I'm just surprised that you feel like Oswald's character was flat. I don't feel like it was flat necessarily.
I don't think it was. I think he was a device for all intents and purposes. As our alarm goes off and won't give us the amount of time that we need to discuss the things that I would like to discuss. All right. So I want to talk about, can we pull up a photo called Matt with Sister, maybe?
Yeah.
So I want to talk about one movie, because it's a difficult movie to watch, like I talked about. And I don't want to give too much away, but there's this scene, this penultimate scene, and that I have that photo. That photo is coming up next. That I think is brilliant. I think it surprises in the rich, in its sort of rich kind of way. I think it's an accomplishment for both actors, and it's super well written. And the two women as actors knock it out of the park. And this is Colette Wolfe as the sister here. You're gonna pull up the other scene too. It's original in terms of the structure of the film. It's sort of like original. Like I feel like the sister character Sandra surprises me a little bit. And this is the other side. This is Charlize's side of that camera. I feel like when you think it's about to have a certain kind of resolution, things get turned on its head a little bit. Now, J Money, you say you were sort of expecting this to happen, but.
Well, no. What I meant was I expected all the sort of plot dynamics to happen the way that they did. I wasn't necessarily sure how her arc was going to get resolved, but I do think that it did get resolved in some way.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, but this scene knocked me for a loop in a good way. Like I think it really surprised me, and I just didn't expect it to go in this direction. For this sort of sycophantic way that Sandra, just when she was at a certain place, and like that's where I feel like the movie, it has this arc, and then it sort of veers left in a very satisfactory and, to me, believable way. So do you guys have any thoughts on this scene?
Yeah, I love this scene. I guess I feel like why this movie is a comedy is because of this scene ultimately. This movie goes to some really dark places and it manages to pull itself out in a way that is still enjoyably dark, still depthful, still full of really some serious, breaking down of characters. But also, there were so many funny turns in that scene alone, and there were so many funny things you're watching happen across Charlize Theron's face as this like her walls are sort of coming back around her. I thought that
and the way that the illusion, like just when her illusions were breaking down,
right, she sort of like recharged a little bit.
Yeah.
But I do think that in the end, she is a changed person.
I disagree with that.
I think the last scene with her in her car.
No, I mean, I know what you mean. That's why I call that the penultimate scene. But I don't think, I think she notices it, but I don't think it changes anything.
I disagree. I think that she comes out different, but I think that she comes out recharged in a certain way as well.
Maybe break the tie.
No, she didn't change. She they fake you. They make you think she's gonna, and then nope.
No, you guys totally didn't get either of you guys.
All right, I'll look at it again, but I don't think
get it. I don't agree with them, so we're wrong.
I might have missed it. I'm willing to look at it again, but my sense is that no, she.
When are you going to look at it again? You've got so much you need to watch. So you didn't even watch all the movies for this week, and we'll get to that coming up. Anyway, so pull up.
I think
this one if you really could. I'm going to try and squeeze in this last thing. I do want to talk about some of the themes. If you have the product placement photo. Yeah.
There we go.
It's coming. I guess I should just start talking about it. The things that is like what happiness means, and what depression means. Like it's a sort of like it's interesting how it's like a state of mind. Like to some degree. Like can she be happy within the delusion? At what point does the delusion become okay? You know what I mean? Like if you're so deluded that you make yourself happy, then isn't that happiness? I also think that the trade-off between success and self-worth and narcissism and self-destructiveness, the fine line between those things, are the things that I thought about during this movie. Does that resonate with any you guys' experience?
Even on a personal level? Sure. Obviously.
No, your personal experience with your experience with the movie. Like, does that in line with some of the things that you guys were thinking about?
Yeah, was this movie about a struggle between her own, crazy narcissism and her defensive walls that she put up around herself, and the way that she tries to seek solace and everything around her? Yeah, definitely, sure.
Okay. Well, what would you say out of the things I mentioned, if any, or something altogether, would you say is the overarching theme of this movie?
Well, I guess ultimately the overarching theme of this movie was about whether or not you move past your childhood to some degree and everything that it entailed. I mean, it really did form her.
Yeah.
It's about growing up, certainly.
Davey?
I think it's just a classic "you can't go home again" story.
He loves to simplify it for you guys. Simple as possible. I think it was about a girl who goes home. Yeah.
No, well, I mean, she wanted to just slip back into that life, and you can't do it. It can't be done. That's.
Well, and that's about this feeling of self-worth. Like the feeling of being the queen again. Being a big fish.
But she was never happy. She was never happy in that situation either. So it wasn't.
Right.
Well, I mean, that's all mental. Like that's why I'm saying it makes you think of what is happiness. It's a state of mind to some degree. It's a choice. Potentially.
Completely a state of mind.
What's that?
Right.
It's completely a state of mind.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So we got to end up. We are most likely going to be late for our classic, which is Citizen Kane. That's coming up next. Our next 2011 indie is we don't know. We have no more 2011 indies. We will just. My goal is to come up with a 2011 indie by next time. I have some coming from Netflix that I'm going to try and watch, and hopefully I'll like. There was one that came and I didn't like, so I'm not going to recommend that one.
We should watch it.
We have no 2011 indie, so check on Facebook and we'll tease it on Facebook. What was that, J Money?
We should watch that one.
Sure, you can if you want. I can also sign you to watch other ones. But,
we should do ones that you definitely do not like. We should do ones you definitely don't recommend.
Let's talk about that another time. As we're late. So anyway, Citizen Kane's coming up next. It's our classic of the evening, and that'll be coming up at hopefully 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific. In the meantime, 37.2 discussion young adult is done, and the meeting continues with Citizen Kane shortly.